All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're breaking down a crisis that is pushing the entire Middle East right to the edge. We're talking about the standoff between the US and Iran. It has massive global implications, and a peace that was already fragile looks like it's about to shatter.
It was just a few weeks ago that a truce was announced, and it really felt like a glimmer of hope after the US, Israel, and Iran had all been trading military strikes. But that hope, it is fading, and it's fading fast. That truce is on incredibly shaky ground, and you can bet the entire Middle East is holding its breath.
If you're watching the headlines, it's just a whirlwind of conflicting reports, diplomatic speak. It's almost impossible to keep track. So, in this explainer, we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to focus on the key developments that got us here and what they really mean for what's coming next. Let's get started.
Okay, first things first. Why has everything gotten so bad so fast? Well, the very foundation of this recent calm, the peace talks, has pretty much crumbled into dust.
And this quote from President Trump, it really says it all, doesn't it? This perfectly captures the hardline stance that's been defining the U.S. approach. This isn't just tough talk. It's a clear signal that the U.S. is willing to go to really extreme lengths to stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. And that kind of rhetoric, it just makes a super delicate situation even more explosive.
And this is the direct result of all that. The main diplomatic effort, the one being mediated by Pakistan and Islamabad, has completely fallen apart. No deal. And that failure is the trigger for the escalating tension that we are seeing play out right now.
So with the main negotiations totally off the table, this frantic behind-the-scenes diplomacy has kicked into overdrive. And this is where things get really, really complicated. You've got multiple countries all trying to act as go-betweens. Let's take a look at this wild web of communication.
Iran's diplomatic push is in full swing. Their foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi, is basically on a world tour, trying to find any way out of this crisis. He's going from presenting de-escalation plans in Islamabad to meeting with the Sultan of Oman in Muscat, and now he's heading to Moscow. Iran is absolutely pulling out all the stops to find some support. And this right here just shows you what a tangled web we're looking at. You've got Iran using Pakistan to send so-called red line messages. These are basically their non-negotiable warnings to the US. Meanwhile, the phone lines are just buzzing between Iran, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey. Pakistan is talking to Iran, Turkey is talking to the US. It is a massive, complicated network of intermediaries just trying to stop a total collapse.
All right, let's switch gears and look at the American side of this, which has been largely defined by President Trump's very direct and, honestly, sometimes contradictory statements to the public.
President Trump's approach here, it's a real head-scratcher. On one hand, he's putting out this image of being totally open, right? Saying all Iran has to do is pick up the phone. But this comes right after he canceled a really important diplomatic mission. It's a classic Trump move. Create a bit of chaos, then offer a really simple, direct way out. But as we're about to see, it's not that simple at all.
But don't let that just call me line fool you. Because behind that open invitation is a really firm stance. Trump has made it crystal clear that Iran's proposals, so far, just aren't good enough. So the key thing to remember is, while the U.S. says it's open to talk, the bar for what they'll accept is set very, very high. And the absolute non-negotiable part is that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, period.
And if you want to see just how chaotic this all is, get this. Look at this timeline. Trump cancels his envoy's visit saying he got a bad proposal from Iran. But then, and he said this himself, just 10 minutes later, he gets what he calls a much better paper. I mean, this just shows you the incredibly volatile, minute-by-minute way these negotiations are unfolding.
Okay, but while the whole world's attention is on this high-stakes diplomatic chess match, there is a deadly, very real conflict raging on another front. And the human cost of this parallel war, it's just staggering.
Just take a second and look at this number, 2,509. That's the number of people who have died in Lebanon because of Israeli airstrikes. This isn't just some political game. This is a massive human tragedy, and it's happening right in the middle of this whole standoff. And of course, it's a blame game. You have Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu ordering vigorous attacks, saying Hezbollah is the one dismantling the ceasefire. Then you have Hezbollah, who calls the truce meaningless and accuses Israel of violating it from the very first day. It's a vicious cycle of violence, and it's creating a very dangerous new front in this crisis.
Now, you might be thinking this is just a regional crisis, but it's not. The consequences are already rippling out across the entire globe, affecting everything from trade and food security to the economy. Let's just run through the global impact piece by piece. First up,
Trade. The Strait of Hormuz, that's the artery for about a fifth of the world's oil, is at a near standstill. That could mean higher gas prices for all of us. Second, the humanitarian side. The UN is sounding the alarm about a potential food crisis because fertilizer shipments are being blocked. Third, the economy. Countries like the UK are already bracing for a spike in the cost of energy, food, even flights. And finally, you've got the legal mess. A global shipping body has condemned the ship seizures by both sides, saying they violate international law. It's just adding another layer of chaos to this whole thing.
So that's where we stand. You've got this chaotic diplomatic scramble happening against a backdrop of real violence and a growing global crisis. And it really leaves us with this one huge question. Can diplomacy somehow find a path through all this chaos, or is the sound of war just drowning everything else out? The whole world is watching and waiting to find out.